Oh
The
yeah, I'm gonna
only
look
thing
that
that's
up.
missing is a little spirit of your choice.
Little
Nice
lib, little,
little rum for
little,
this cold weather.
Whiskey,
a little libations is missing from it.
some libations. That's right. Don't pour none out for the ancestors, okay? Because we need it. They
Right.
try. Okay, we need it right here on this earth.
Benny,
They're in
Sure.
peace. We're going through 2020.
yeah,
Okay.
we officially
Yeah.
live. We are recording. Benny, I love your new gear, your Surpass gear that I saw online. I
Oh,
see
you
you
checking it out,
representing and
huh?
wearing it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you
have to
see
give
that?
me. I'm
Okay.
gonna have to give me some. I'm gonna have to give me some. But I'll let you bring us in, introduce
I
us,
got
our
something for
guests.
you, man. I got
I
something for you.
appreciate you.
I got some more merch coming, but appreciate the shout out. This is Benny Bell, Surpass Estate Group, as well as Global Empowerment Team. I just want to thank you all for chiming in again to see us with another show, another episode, and man, we got another powerful, impactful guest that's going to share a lot of knowledge, share a lot of value. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. Today is our late show, so hopefully you all had a purposeful and productive day. And I'll go ahead and introduce my co-host, Mr. Macklin. How are you today, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. I was actually very purposefully productive today, and I'm happy for you. Know those days where you look up and it's already 5 o'clock and you got to get ready for the show, and you've been knee deep in work getting things done. It was a great day today, man. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be with our guests that we have. Glad to see that you wearing your new merch. So I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, man. How are you?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. Like you said, it was one of those days where actually, I mean, I woke up this morning and knowing my schedule was going to be all blocked out. So, again, that goes back to what we talked about before, time blocking, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it helps out with keeping your days purposeful. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was already woke up this morning. It was already filled. Got to spend some time with my little guy out in the backyard a little bit and played around with him. So, it was great. It was great. But yeah,
Boy,
but
looking
I want to
he
go ahead
looking
and
more and more like you, boy. He looked just like his daddy.
now I say it's my light skinned twin, man.
They remind me of me and my pops. You see me and my pops, you think we twins. I'm his light-skinned twin. That's how it go.
Right.
I have a light skinned twin too.
Oh, there
He's
we
a
go.
boy. He's a boy, but he's light skinned and he looks like me.
There we go. Well,
Well, that
this
was a
is our
perfect
guest.
segue.
This
Yeah.
is our guest. So let's go ahead and introduce our guest for this evening. Excited to have this beautiful lady on our show today. And I say just not just looks, but just in the way she impacts the community, what she's doing with the community, how she is how she's sharing herself. So Alicia Mayo, how are you this evening?
I'm great, Vinny. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the compliments and all of that. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys tonight to really, talk about some things that, that are going on with me, things that are going on with you guys, and how we all impact our communities. So it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you
Definitely.
for making time on this Thursday. Benny has your bio, so I will let Benny do the proper introduction with educating people of who you are, what you do, and things of that nature. So, Benny, without further ado,
Definitely. We'll get into this bio and then we'll get into this value. So, Alicia Mayo, she is a pioneer in corporate and community radio, TV, and now digital media. She went from being the first hip hop female radio personality for KPOO radio in 1988 to launching the country's first mainstream 24-hour digital broadcast, KRON, for Nexter KRON 4 TV in 2018. Heard by millions of listeners as a senior news anchor, editor, and producer on KCBS All News Radio, Alicia's worked as senior news anchor and producer for iHeartMedia's TTWN, Pacific Northwest region of more than 50 radio stations, including KQED and KFAX. In February 2019, she launched her own media organization as CEO, founder, and executive producer of Clari-T Media. As an educator, she works to incorporate Media Morality 101 as a foundational set of standards for any corporate organizations that have people in their bottom line equations. She has a bachelor's degree in broadcast electronic communication arts focused on media theory and practice. She's currently in a master's program researching digital marketing, advertising, and media communications, both at San Francisco State University.
nice. So it's Alicia Mayo here with us today, which I'm excited because it's funny. It's Clari-T, right? It's
Yeah.
Clari-T it's like a play on clarity, correct?
Right. It's a play on clarity. And it turns out that the Latin meaning of Clari, Clari, is bright, famous girl. And I did not know that when my partner chose the play on the clarity. We didn't know that. So I just discovered that Clari defines bright, famous girl, and then the capital T I thought would represent the technical side of this bright famous girl, because I am a nerd, I am a technical girl, and I love to work behind the scenes, creating and developing, and getting my hands on the tools that create the vision and the images and the sounds and all of that stuff. So yeah, so we put it together and created Clari-T Media.
I like it because it is very multi-layered in the sense of, now that you educate us about Clari and what it means as far as a bright, beautiful, famous woman, in this case, not a girl, but the T standing for technology, which means you're in that realm, but you're still bringing Clari-T to your community through what you do, which is amazing. So I like how it all ties into each other. That's
God
very
works.
ingenious. Yes, he does. Amen.
God works in mysterious ways. I really believe that.
Yes, he does.
I really believe that.
And it's funny because last week, Benny and I had Sean Granberry from Hip Hop TV, who has his own network, and he's trying to control content. And we always talk about, if you want to be involved, a great way to be involved is to take ownership of certain things. If you want to be involved, get involved politically, not just voting, but maybe get involved as far as running for council. And that's what the base of what you're doing. You're getting involved from a standpoint of, I'm going to bring you the media from a standpoint that you can understand it, because I'm from certain demographics. So talk about how you got into communications and media, and the importance of why you got into it.
I have to go all the way back to my teachers, the people who supported me, early. So early childhood education is really important to me. And I had a group of supportive teachers. I had women in the neighborhood where I grew up, Bayview, Hunters Point, Double Rock.
Oh, you grew up in the hood. You grew up, wait a minute, you grew up in San Francisco too?
33 Cameron Way in Double Rock, and I lived on Dedman Court in Hunters Point. And, I just had a community of supportive men and women, who just made me feel like there was nothing I couldn't do. And growing up in San Francisco, in a city full of diversity and everything, I really had a lot of access to, different areas and different lifestyles. And I could see different examples with different groups of people, men and women. And so that was, I think, my biggest foundation, and the biggest motivator for me was just seeing the examples with my own eyes. My mentor today is Belva Davis, who was the first Black news reporter on the West Coast. And, so me becoming the first digital content producer for Channel 4, it was kind of cyclical, because she became the first news reporter for KPIX and KRON 4 television. I've worked for both of those TV stations. I also worked in Black radio when Black radio existed, and that's KPOO community radio station. They're still Black owned. And KDIA AM 1310, that was Black owned. Belva Davis, I'm talking about, my mentor, the first. She also worked at KDIA and KPOO as well. And I didn't know it. And that's why I say God works in mysterious ways. And, there are footprints that we follow, even sometimes when we don't realize it, because we've seen the examples, we've heard them. And, it's not impossible when you've already seen it before or you've heard it, So I had a lot of great support. And that's how I got into it. I was kind of led into it, and then I felt comfortable in it, and then I was brought up in it by others who brought me along, who told me things like, "Oh, your voice is unusual. You need to be on the radio." Me, I didn't want to be on the radio. I never asked to be on the radio, but I was placed in the seat and given the microphone and told to, do this. You have 5 hours overnights, 11 p.m. till 5 a.m. And you'll pay me to do that? Play music? Oh my gosh. Right. So I was brought into it because other people believed in me. I grew to understand it and started believing in it myself, believing in myself as well, So I drank the Kool-Aid, the Alicia Kool-Aid. And, I added my own recipe. I
Right.
started creating my own ideas and attitudes around how I could affect the media landscape and the audiences. And I truly felt like I could do it. I mean, just like Sean, I know Sean personally, we came up in a time when we were pioneers in hip hop. We were pioneers, the first in our families to graduate college and all that. So we just had some extra gusto and some extra, whatever you want to call it,
Mm.
zeal or whatever that came from our foundations. And so
Right.
for children, for anybody watching, who has children or has contact with children, make sure that you pour into them and support and push them and help them see themselves. So that's how I
Very
got
nice.
started.
Very nice. Very nice. You touched on a couple of things right there. One of which I want to bring out is kind of it's our motto. It's in our DNA of this show is to educate and impact and empower our community.
Yeah.
And you speaking to your foundation, you speaking to the roots of where you started at, speaks to that. It speaks to the support system that you've had around you since day one, that led you into discovering your gift. Because it doesn't
Yes.
sound like you may not have been aware of your gift. However, you based on everybody around you, they recognize that gift that you had and pushed
Some
you
of my
forward.
family, some of my family members, I'm sorry, I have to
Uh,
interrupt you because I just got
uh,
this flashback. Some of my family thought I talked too much.
okay. Well, that's what you do as a radio host, right? You talk a
I,
lot.
I
Hit the
get
play
paid to
button,
talk.
talk a lot. Right?
Okay, I get a check for talking a lot.
Exactly, exactly. So, but I mean, back to that, like I said, it speaks to the importance of having that foundation, the importance of supporting your community, the importance of supporting your family and changing
Right,
the narrative. Like you mentioned, you're the first person in your immediate family to graduate from college. So understanding that, it's sky's the limit. Discover your gift,
right,
discover your passion, and then the sky's the limit. And we're going to
right.
help, and if you have that support system around you, they're going to help you get to where you need to get to. And
That's
it
right.
goes back to what I always say. I mean, you can get somewhere on your own, but to get somewhere faster and create and be at a higher level, you need a team around you. You
Mhm.
need successful, people around you to help push that success. So,
Yeah.
you had mentioned also that you were the first in a number of those different positions that you reached in. Kind of talk about what that experience was like for you at KRON and
Mhm.
being in those positions as the first, African American woman.
Um, so, in broadcasting in particular, um, from the time that I started in 1988, it's changed, just about every couple of years. You see uh, people come and go in media. You see DJs come and go, news reporters come and go, because under FCC regulation, it was deregulated. There wasn't any regulation, and so anybody could own a media business, and it was radio and television, of course, at that time, and cable television. And as the industry changed, I was changing with it, but then my life started as a young adult, and I had to choose, between my career and my family life. I really could not see myself doing both, although I had Belva Davis as the example, who did both. She managed to do both, but she is so tough. She's rock solid tough, and you guys have no idea, what it's like for women in broadcasting. It is treacherous. It's treacherous when it's a world full of white men. So I got to the point where I was interning for her at Crime 4 Television, and I realized it was too much for me at 22 years old, and she had been in it since 1964. So I decided to stop in 1996 to have a family and to focus on, being a mom and a wife, and still having a career that I could manage. And so I went into education, but it wasn't easy. This broadcast media communications business is not easy for women. It's especially not easy for Black women, Black men, etc. People of color. But over the years, things have changed with regulation and deregulation changing, ownership changing. Uh, it is a business, and the bottom line is the most important thing. And whatever the owners feel is going to make them money is what they go with. And so, once you have spent so many years of your life with all of these skills that you can't apply anymore, you have to change. You have to make some changes and all of that. And, sometimes they're abrupt changes. And that has happened more recently with my employment with iHeartMedia. I was hired by them just before they went through their first bankruptcy. They may be going into bankruptcy again. Um, KCBS, when I was hired with them, they were going through a whole what do they call it, a restructuring. Same thing, So it's funny how Black folks are hired when things are, changing, and we can feel the bill while they get their things together, and they can use us how they want to use us. But those are the times, the tough times are when we as Black people have been able to make those inroads and to get in and to find a place and to make statements or create our own brands and give ourselves some identity, get a foothold in it, no matter where and when the opportunities come. And that's how I got those opportunities with iHeartMedia, KCBS, and Cron 4. Cron 4 was my first television experience. I had no experience in television before I got hired at Cron 4, and they weren't too sure I could do it, but they were launching the first digital live stream of 24-hour, 7-day a week news around the clock. And it's called Cron On. It's a digital platform. And the parent company is Next Star Nation, and they own over 200 television stations in the country. They're the largest television holding company in the country, and they launched their first live stream at San Francisco station, and I was one of three digital content producers and the only Black. So I became the first in the country to launch that. And we launched in December of 2018, but it was also treacherous. It was a hell of a ride. I had people in my face yelling at me, disrespecting me to no level out of stress. But I don't stress like that. I have the DNA of my ancestors, and we've been through worse. And so for me, when it comes to pressure and tough times, I deal with it in an elegant way, in a mindful way, I try to keep the end goal in mind. I try to keep the larger prize in mind, and that's how I made it through all of that.
Right.
But so don't ever lose your cool when times are challenging, and they will be challenging.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So here I am today developing my own platform, having gone through all of that and realizing that if Belva could go through that, if I could go through all that I went through, went back to school and got my degree just in 2017, got caught up on the digital approach to television and radio so that I could continue my career on another level,
Hmm.
on the current level. If I could go through all of that, anybody can. And so here I am.
There
That's
you
why
go.
I'm still alive, because I keep my skills up to date. I keep changing with the business, and I don't let anybody scare me
Yeah, you
away.
stay relevant.
Yeah, you
Definitely.
have to. You have
Right.
to evolve
Yeah.
with as technology evolves and people's buying habits, viewing habits, watching habits, listening habits, reading habits, people don't pick up books anymore. People read them through their phone or a tablet, or they listen to them or something like that. So to be able to evolve and adapt your business, your level of communication to what's relevant, like Benny said, staying relevant, those things are key. They're crucial to any personal and professional growth is what I would say. But with that being said, what advice, what words of wisdom? Because first of all, you look amazing, because you mentioned something about starting in 1988. I'm like, wait, you were like,
yeah, I heard that too, man.
You were like 10 years, you were like 5 or 10 years old when you started.
Like,
I don't understand.
What are you drinking over there? I need to get some of that, right?
That's number one. I can't believe you said 1988. I was a little boy in 1988. I can't believe it. But what words of wisdom, being in the industry for what is 32 years now, and going through highs and lows, ups and downs. You've mentioned a couple of biblical terms and being faithful. So it instantly takes me to the book of Genesis and Joseph. And Joseph had a lot of ups and downs, and he had to go through the prison to get to the palace several different times. And in our lives, people think, oh, I'm in the palace and it's over. Nah, sometimes you got to go back to the prison because you don't appreciate the palace. And the prison helps you appreciate the palace and the blessings that are bestowed upon you. So you've gone through some years of prisons and palaces throughout your growth process, your maturation in the industry. What sagacious, wise words do you have for anybody up and coming? And I'm assuming it's like this, especially for us. I'm assuming it's a short-lived career when it comes to rap. They want to use you. When it comes to anything music, they want to kind of use you. Entertainment, they want to kind of, you here now, I'm gonna get what I can out of you, and then you out of here, and I'm finding the next one that can do the same thing. So what words of wisdom do you have for that longevity that you had, that duck feather resiliency, so to speak, to when somebody yelling at you, you can let it kind of go off of you like water does duck feathers. What's the advice that you have for somebody getting into the industry, to stay in the industry, to navigate through the industry, and to move up through that industry?
Realizing your value, absolutely knowing what you're worth, knowing where you come from, and remembering that, and using that as your guidepost to really pay attention to every move, be very conscious, be humble, use that humility, and be empathetic always to other folks along the way, because there are other people who have had struggles to get to where they are. So while the news director was yelling in my face, I was thinking to myself, he's been through a whole hell of a lot to be in my face yelling. And so you do have to have an attitude of empathy. You have to have your humility. You have to know what you're worth, and know that your gifts are worth $1 million or all the riches of the land to somebody, right? It's just a matter of time before someone sees your value. Keep yourself up. Take good care of your mental health, and your physical health, and really dig into the community and see who you can partner with, who you can, that may teach you something that you don't know, or that you can share something with, that you can elevate, because service, I believe that comes back to you. If you're giving, pouring into someone else, it's going to help you develop as a leader, and but just having a really nice balance between all of those things. You get your education, you become a practitioner, you become a professional, you become an educator. All of those things, all of those pillars of points in your life are connected by people and experiences that we all have to remember and appreciate. And as we go through our lives, we have to make sure that we are uh, contributing in a larger way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
In some way. And so that's been my goal. I think that's been the main reason I've been able to do this and get through it and be resilient through it all, is because I've had this underlying faith and overall purpose uh, to really give back and to serve in the best way that I have been equipped with, not wasting
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
gifts at all.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's great.
that's
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 great.
awesome. I mean, you basically kind of lined out attributes of a leader. Being able to be humble and vulnerable, aligning yourself with other like-minded individuals, other people that'll push you, other people that speak the same language, taking care of
Mhm.
self, to be able to take care of others, to be able to give back, to be in a position to where you can, give back to your community, and I mean, and that's essential. And I mean, and if you have that mindset of giving, everything else will
Mhm.
come back to you.
Mhm.
It's That's why if you provide value, everything else, money, everything else, fame, everything else is an attribute of that. Is a byproduct of that.
Let me just give a few examples of giving, because these are just words coming out of my mouth, framed by lipstick. I mean, the action is really where it really matters. So, for example, when you're giving and when you're doing for others, and you think you're in your mind and in your heart, you're doing the right thing. You have this goal, and you say, okay, I'm going to volunteer for Thanksgiving. I'm going to, go out and give, socks and uh, food to the homeless. When you see the reactions and you see how it benefits and helps those people, I think that's when you get the reward.
Mm-hmm.
When you can actually see your work or service
Yes.
manifest.
Yes.
And so I speak to students in the broadcasting departments every year. I return to my alma mater. I speak to the sons and daughters of friends, if they send someone to me. I'm helping my own family members, to get employed, to improve the skill sets. I'm working with other broadcast giants in the Bay Area right now to develop a media alliance so that we can all prosper, so that we can all have our platforms be shared amongst our own platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm creating master classes that are affordable. By creating this nonprofit agency, I have support coming in that allows me to offer free classes on presentation and speaking in public and branding your personal social media uh, footprint or
Mm-hmm.
digital footprint and things like that. So when you can see your work and your
Yes.
commitment manifest
Yes.
itself, that's
It's all.
that's when you know it's working.
Yep. It's all about each one teach one. And what I love honestly is every guest we bring on, it's a resounding overall message from show one all the way
Mhm.
up until now, because we try and
Great.
bring impactful people. And when you bring in a certain type of impact, the mindset starts to be very similar as far as that growth process.
Yes.
And each one teach one, which means you have to make yourself vulnerable enough, first of all, to go learn. You have to be the one who's being taught to then be the each one to continue the teaching moving forward. And
That's right.
that's what you're doing, which is great. And you found, I should say, your platform, your avenue to continue that teaching process, which is,
People are inspired by me, and it's so interesting the way it happens. I never expect to be inspired by the people that turn around and um, give it back. So
mm,
I've seen my work. So I was the 40-year-old or 50-year-old. I was the 50-year-old intern at KBIX in 2015. Stop doing the math. Okay, stop it. But as the older intern in 2015, I was embarrassed by that. But I knew that I had to learn some things. And so I paid my dues. And one day the general manager pulled me into his office and he told me, I see what you're doing, and I want you to keep going. I just want you to know that we need people like you. This is an older Jewish gentleman who's been in the broadcast industry as general manager and vice president for over 30 years of his career, right, at the time. And I was just the intern. And he told me, he said, keep going because the business needs people like you. So the following semester, he showed up at San Francisco State University for our annual Becca Awards night, where we highlight and award student um, productions. And he showed up that night to present our department with a $10,000 check because I was there studying at the time. You know, so you just never know
Yeah.
when the blessings and how the blessings will come back. And if you're inspiring people, they will show you.
Yes. And
You'll see that.
that is
That's
more,
awesome.
you touched up on it. That to me, everybody, look, we all got bills to pay, to keep your lights on, to feed yourself, to have certain amenities that
Mhm.
are not only amenities, but they're necessities. We have to pay for water bill, all these different things, right? So everybody's got to trade time for money. You got to trade talent for money. We all understand that. But the best, greatest rewards that you will get in life are when you see the interaction that you put out there starting to come to fruition through others people's actions. And I've
Other
always
people benefit from
exactly
that.
Right.
exactly
Right.
that's when you and that's why we always tell people get involved, because a lot of the times you don't know what your passion is for these types of involvement and community involvement until you put yourself in a position to be involved and you realize that felt amazing to bestow
right?
that upon somebody. So you got to continue. And you just said it. At whatever age, I'm not going to do the math for you, but at whatever age, you humbled yourself enough to say, you know what? I got to take myself back through this prison of internship to get back to the palace of being a CEO of Clari-T at that point in time. So it's all a process that we should never stop learning. We should never, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That should never be the case. You should always be able to learn new tricks.
Teach me some.
Right.
Teach me
Got to stay
some.
learning based. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Right. You summed it up there.
Yeah.
I did my first 7-part news series, for my Bay Area Mental Health Hour platform, which people can find on YouTube. It's the Bay Area Mental Health Hour. The very first production I did was a 7-part series I called Internal Fire, and it was a deep dive look at the mental health and wellness of firefighters and their struggle with post-traumatic stress injury. These firefighters have gone through a lot of things personally, and they started to open up and talk about it because they were being stigmatized in their respective departments as not being fit for the job because of the stress that they were exhibiting. We all have stress on the job, right? Why should we feel like we are not capable of doing the job just because we have sought counseling to help us get through the stress? And so these firefighters ended up getting support by Senator Henry Stern, out of Southern California, I believe, who authored a bill for them that was passed to protect those firefighters who seek out mental health counseling because of stress on the job. But what I realized in doing that investigative report was that this was going to spread across all professions. Everybody, every working person in California would see that series and say to themselves, I've been stressed out on my job. I have seen a counselor. I've kept it a secret, but now I want some protection too. I have the right to protection as a worker under California employment law and labor code. It was an education for me, and I hoped that it would be an education for my audience as well. And it turns out that I was commended by that same senator for the work that I did. So that was really,
As well, you should be. Mental
Yeah,
health
that's
is
that's
very important.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it spans across different industries, and different experiences, and it's not a weak situation, and people, we tend to put a negative, connotation to it, or look down upon, people who might be suffering from some type of stress disorder, mental disorder. But anybody can go through that. It's the
mhm,
matter. It's you're basically one experience away from dealing with something that you push back. We're consistently pushing things down. It's a lot of teens, it's a lot of people that right now are going through PTSD because
right,
of the stay-at-home shelter, because of this COVID-19. Suicide
right,
rates have gone out the roof, gone up
Mhm.
drastically since we've been
right,
in this situation. So
right.
coming out of this, when it's the unfortunate situation is that those numbers are, people are anticipating that those numbers will continue to go up, because we don't
Yeah,
have that person to talk to. We don't have that person to touch. We don't have, and these are things that are
the
nat that are
outreach. Yeah,
natural to humans. To be able to
right.
have somebody that you could reach out to, somebody that you could connect with, on a
Yeah.
mental level, on a physical level. So, I,
Well,
I, I
I would say again to the viewing audience out there, please go to YouTube, look for the Bay Area Mental Health Hour, because
definitely.
I have a bunch of episodes there with the clinical psychologist that I work with, Jason Outlaw. He's great, really laid back conversations about mental health. And anytime I live stream now on my Facebook, IG, or YouTube page, I always include a segment, or I really try to include a current segment on mental health, whether it's my platform or Med Circle or just a general conversation about mental health and wellness, because it is extremely critical right now.
Mhm.
I'm feeling stir crazy, and now we have a curfew of 10 p.m. So
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
yeah, you're
Let me add.
right.
I wanted to go back to because I know you had mentioned this a couple times, and this is what you do
Hmm.
now. And some of our audience members might not understand the whole the parameters around that. Is being able to be on top of current situations and things that are happening socially, to be relevant in your mediums. So what does that envelop look like? What does that look like for you as far as media content and developing media for your mediums?
Well, I and I it's very subjective, and it's much like, corporate television and radio. It's subjective, to the owners, and so based on who the owners are, they are the filters. They hire producers who look and who look like them, who they can relate to. And so for me, my media, or my shows and my content is going to reflect what I'm interested in. It turns out, though, that I'm an eclectic person. I was told this years ago by one of my professors, who was kind of sitting back and waiting for me to, select certain news stories, and he was quickly surprised at my choices, because I'm interested in so many different things. And what moves me the most are my senses, my sense of sight, sound, and I'm an optimist, and so I love things that look beautiful, or that look mysterious, or that speak without speaking, uh, things that are relative indirectly. So, for example, right now I'm including the history of African American people. I'm including sports talk. I'm including mental health, straight news or hard news, and music and the arts, culture. But I weave it all together with an overriding theme of uh, joy, or food, or the holiday season. So I go with big ideas. I go with big ideas, and then I kind of work my way down from the larger idea. And I really try to uh, please the eyes and please the ears. Of course, we can't smell on television and radio, but I really try to invoke all of the senses in my content.
Very
So it
nice.
has to be, very high quality, visually satisfying content, and thought provoking content as well too. Yeah.
Good. Well, let's go ahead and recap again. Where can our audience members reach out to you? Where can you be found? On what
Mhm.
mediums are you putting your information out on?
So things have changed through social media. Facebook has become the the number one site, right?
Mhm.
Although folks were resisting Facebook forever, but that's where a lot goes down visually and through audio as well. And so I have my personal page that I invite everyone to, because I'm, as a public figure, I'm not I'm not privy to have a completely private life. And so I invite people to visit me at Alicia Mayo on Facebook, or to visit Clari-T Media on Facebook, or Alicia Mayo News on Facebook. And on all three of those platforms, I try to include a little something different. I try to customize it for each person. I visualize that. And then I'm on Twitter at Radio TV Queen. I'm on IG at Radio TV Queen. And where else am I? Oh gosh, on all of your favorite digital platforms. You can also find me on Wednesday mornings on KPOO, that's 89.5 FM, and KPOO.com. I cover traffic and weather on Wednesday mornings from 9 until 12 noon. And what else am I doing? That's about it. That's about it. I won't give you my address.
Very nice.
That's
Well,
enough.
definitely, definitely. And it's listening to you speak on those different mediums. It just brought me in, and then when we're getting close to the hour mark, so I just want to ask this last question, and it's based on our conversation that we had with Sean Granberry last week on the importance of ownership and the importance
Mhm.
of owning your own story.
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned also that that you now in this position with Clari-T that you have some ownership stake. So
Yeah.
what is the what does the next phase look like for you? Do you plan on owning a radio station? Do you plan on owning your own platform to put out your medium through?
Yeah, so in the process of all of the changes here again with digital media, there are lots of mediums. You can stream just about anywhere from anywhere.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's about cost. It's affordable for me to live stream on the live stream platforms that are available to me, that give me the most bang for my buck. And I use those platforms right now. But I'd like to broadcast to audiences where most people are. And so I'm really focusing on broadcasting on Facebook, IG. I'm kind of working my way with Twitter and YouTube. Twitter is limited. Uh, so I do own a platform, and on my platform, I want to introduce other platforms. I want to make my Clarity Media platform a place for everybody to gather. I want to create this media alliance amongst people of color, particularly Black folks, not counting anybody else out, but traditionally we have not had places of our own. And so I want to be one of the culture keepers, because I think it's important for us to present our platforms in the best light, in the best way, and to take good care of it. So I'm sort of like a steward. I want to make sure that I am a filter, so that we keep a consistent quality, a level of content that serves us well, that really delivers the kind of information and uh, ideas that we need to see and hear, So presentation is important, content, you know, due diligence, best practices. I really want to still, offer my leadership, but at the same time, create a place for other folks to really shine. And so that's what I'm doing with Clari-T Media. I'm an owner, but I am offering others an opportunity to come in, be a part of the process of owning, developing your own, and then us working and collaborating and becoming partners. Because I think that's the only way we're going to do it, especially here locally and regionally. We have national efforts like with Revolt TV, and who else is out there trying to create something? The Black News Channel. But like, the Black News Channel, they're owned by other folks. It's not us that own it. So
Just like BET.
like BET, like Fox Soul, like for example, and nothing against ABC 10 Sacramento. God bless them. Bless their hearts. Bless your heart, baby. They have created this new position called race and culture journalist. Oh, really? So now they're interested in our stories. Well, I want to be one of the ones who says, well, we're over here. If you want to come over here and be invited into our space where we're doing it our way, you're more than welcome to join us. You can join us, but you cannot beat us. You can't divide us anymore. We have our own stories to tell in the ways that we want to tell them. Like Roland Martin, a lot of folks laughed at him, but now people see the value of individuality, of consciousness, the texture of the Black voice, the the realness, the true, the joy of being Black is where we live. We live over here and in this zip code. Y'all drew the lines. Now stay on your side. We're happy over here. We're comfortable over here. If you want to come over here, you have to be invited. You can't just come over here and turn up.
You can tell Sean Granberry and y'all grew up in the same school of media thought. That sounds just like him right there. But look,
Right.
it's almost 7:00.
But
I'm
a woman. I have my own
love
thoughts.
I love it. I think that you came in and you shed some light on an industry that honestly a lot of people don't have light shed on. I mean, Benny has a background in broadcasting, so maybe he understands some of the things that go on behind the veil, behind the curtain. But I thought it was a great conversation as far as your
well,
journey.
Let me just say this. I am British, I'm Irish, I'm Russian, I'm Portuguese, and I'm African. So, and I grew up in San Francisco. I'm not leaving anyone out. I have been put in a place where I've been able to live the Black experience. I worked in Black media, Black businesses. My mother, my grandfathers, we've all owned Black owned businesses. So that's all I know. I'm not leaving anyone out. I love who I am and all of my people. I love all of them. But this is what I know the most. This is what I do the best. And that is be Black.
You know what's bad is that we always have to apologize for that because we're not exclusionary people. Like you said, we're very inclusive. We're very understanding. But sometimes when you talk about our experience, people then think, oh, they're against this or against. I'm not anti anything. Just because I'm pro something doesn't mean I'm anti anything at all. So thank you for that clarification. But seriously, we got to have you back on our show. You got a lot of content to unpack. You have great presence about you on air, verbally, like you said, the sight, the sound, all of that. But we appreciate you for coming on.
Thanks
and like I said, going over some of your experience in media, broadcasting, your growth process. Anybody who wants to find Alicia, she gave her information. She is the media queen. Find her on Twitter, Instagram. You can get her on Facebook with Clari-T. That's Clari, capital T. Clari is for a bright, famous female woman, girl. And T is for the technological side. And the Clari-T brings it all together because they're trying to give more clarity, shed more light on this particular industry. So thank you for coming in. Benny, I'll let you take us out of here. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like, hit the subscribe, all of that. Benny, get us out of here. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you again. And Khalil said it all. Thank you guys for all chiming in. We're on all those platforms as well. Give us a thumbs up, give us, a like, subscribe on YouTube, give us some comments on who would you like to see on the show, who you think we should be in contact with, what other content that you would like to see on this platform. And we thank you all for continuing to be Global Empowerment team members. And Alicia Mayo, pleasure.
Stay safe, everybody. Stay safe. Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Take care,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you.